So in my clock, it's already 8:06 a.m. So welcome everyone. Welcome to our first webinar series. So today, we're going to be the episode 1 of our 3-part web series that will start right this instant. Okay, so please stand by for another 1 minute. So once again, good morning everyone. Welcome to the episode 1 of the Field Study Web Series of the College of Teacher Education of Ramon Magsaysay Memorial Colleges, Marbel Incorporated, with the title FS Web Series Episode 1, How to Make Action Research, with our esteemed speaker today. To formally start our program virtually, a prayer will be given to us by RMMC Himig Choral, followed by the Philippine National Anthem, the South Cotabato Hymn, the Marcha ng Lungsod ng Coronadal, and also the RMMC Hymn.
Amang nasa langit, papuri sa iyong ngalan mo, itataas ang karuan mo, dito sa lupa, sa langit. Salamat, Panginoon, sa iyong kabutihan, sa paglikasangin, sa apoy ng kasalanan, pagkawanin mo kami sa aming mga kamalian. At maging karapat-dapat kami sa bigyan mo kami ng sapat na
Indeed, RMMC is really forever in giving quality education to our students. Ayan, good morning everyone. Good morning from the College of Teacher Education of Ramon Magsaysay Memorial Colleges, of course, Marvel Incorporated. And also good morning from the comfort of your homes. I am hoping that everyone will have a great time today and will have a great time learning with our speaker. So by the way, I am Conses Dayan E. Fahartin, and I'm going to be your host and also your moderator for today. But before we're going to start our formal program, here is a little bit of special activity from the College of Teacher Education. So, to spice up things lang naman po, and also para maganahan po kayong makinig sa ating speaker. Yan. I have here a picture. I think everybody knows about this cellphone, tapos pindot-pindot. Alam niyo naman po siguro yan lahat. If you are thinking about selfie, yes, that is selfie, and that is our special program for today. Today, we're going to launch our special activity called the Selfie Serie. Bakit siya the Selfie Serie? Because it will start in this episode 1 and will end on episode 3. Ayan, tatlong parts po yan ha, tatlong parts. Ito po ang mechanics na ating the Selfie Serie. Every webinar, participant will took a selfie of himself or herself watching, take note ha, watching, listening, taking notes during the event. He or she will upload the photo on Facebook with the official hashtag of the webinar episode. Cut-off of the reactions will be on the following day since today is Friday. So tomorrow po ang cut-off ng ating reaction or your activity, Saturday at 12 o'clock p.m. Highest reaction, be it sad, be it hard, be it like, as long as there are reactions, will be declared as the winner on the next webinar. One winner per institution will be declared and will receive 300 pesos worth of load. Okay? Baka magtaka po kayo, bakit may per institution? Kasi I would like to give my recognition to our participants coming from Ramon Magsaysay Memorial Colleges, General Santos City, still, which is in my heart, from the College of Teacher Education, headed by Dr. Annalisa T. Amada. And special thanks also to Sir Christian J. Fajartin for heeding our request to everybody. Ayan, I hope this is clear to everybody, the selfie series. Okay, what will going to be our official hashtag for this time? And that will going to be hashtag ReadyFSAction. Ayan ha, do not forget to put the hashtag. Pag walang hashtag, hindi po yan i-credit sa ating mananalo, which will going to be announced on the next webinar. So, ang wala sa next webinar, pasensyahan, hindi po tayo makakredit. Ayan. Okay? So, to formally start our program, let us welcome Michael J.P. Pamposa, a BE Ed pre-service teacher, for his welcome address.
Good morning, everyone. So indeed, it is a great day for all of us that we are able to come together once again in this virtual platform that we are on right now. And with that, I would like to thank everyone for giving their time, their availability to be on this conference, the lecture that we are going to have later on with our guest speaker. We would like to thank you all for your time and your availability. We would like to thank our guest speaker for today. Very grateful that you are with us today, sir. So we would like to thank you for your availability also in your effort and your time to be on this lecture and the conference that we are going to have later on. And we would like everyone, especially teacher, our schoolmates, and our guests, especially our guest speaker for today, we would like to welcome you all to RMCMI. And with that, we would also like to thank the organizer of this conference, none other than our very own teacher, Miss Constance Dayan P. Pahartin. That without her, this conference would be not made possible. We would like to thank you, ma'am. And before we start, I would like to share a short quote from Brian Herbert. It says that the capacity to learn is a gift and the ability to learn is a skill. The willingness to learn is a choice. Hoping and we are wishing that everyone that who are on this conference this morning are willing to learn from our guest speaker for this day. We would like to welcome everyone, and through this platform, we are hoping that everyone will learn a lot, especially us future educators in our field, in our profession in the future. With that, we welcome you all to Ramon Magsaysay Memorial Colleges, Marbel Incorporated, and we thank you for giving your time to be in this conference this morning. Thank you, and God bless us all.
Thank you, Sir Michael, for the welcome address. Now, as we are about to gear up to prepare for our webinar, we just have at least 2 simple rules that everybody should follow. So everybody must listen to our speaker carefully. You may take down notes. And if you have questions, feel free to comment it down in the comment section of our YouTube Live, and it will be answered on the open forum later after the conference. And now, to formally introduce our speaker, let us all welcome Miss Fabi Kate C. Gragasin, still a BEd pre-service teacher.
Good morning, everyone. It is a great honor and pleasure for me to introduce our guest speaker for today. He is an undergrad of Bachelor in Secondary Education, major in Physical Science at Notre Dame of Marble University, year 2010, a graduate study of Masters of Art in Education in Science Education at Notre Dame of the Changas University 2017, CAR, ongoing thesis writing. His achievements are: he is a research enthusiast at Southeast Asian Oral Research Presenter at De La Salle University 2018, International Research Conference winner at Sihanouk, Thailand 2019, regional recipient of Basic Education Research Fund 2019, 2020 Outstanding Secondary Teacher, second place, Division Level, Division of South Cotabato, a national and regional SLM writer for Science Secondary, and an international teaching certificate holder. He is connected at Poblacion Polomolok National High School, Division of South Cotabato, Teacher 3, and Science and Research Coordinator. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome our guest speaker, Mr. Agustin A. Pandoma.
Welcome. And now, I'm going to give the floor to our speaker, Sir Agustin Pandoma. Sir?
Hello, everyone. Good morning. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. Maraming salamat po. So before I'm going to start, I just would like to thank Ma'am Conces Dayan P. Fahartin, the BEd pre-service teacher of RMMC Coronadal, and my due respect as well to Sir or to Dr. Johnny S. Bantulo, the program director of RRMMC Coronadal. Maraming salamat po for inviting me. It was such an honor and privilege to be able to speak, especially with future educators. Okay, I was been in their shoes as well before, so I hope I can be able to share with you guys. And I was also informed that the participants are almost 600. It's an overwhelming number of participants. So, ganun ka in demand ang teaching, especially nowadays. So, maraming salamat. And now, I am going to start presenting my topic, which is about a research. Okay. So, again, my name is Agustin A. Pandoma, and I am currently connected at Poblacion Polomolok National High School. And by the way, shout out sa mga estudyante ko. I think I only know 3 of them na nasa General Santos City na campus. We have Rojimar, Brian, and Ephraim. Okay? At least naisipan nilang maging guro. Okay. It is inspiring as well. So, my task this morning is to be able to speak about action research. So, mind you, future teachers, kasi we have this parang common notion na pag-research, it's quite difficult or it's very rigid ang paggawa. And there are also instances na parang nagkakaroon tayo ng allergy pag sinasabi natin research. So, when we say research, it's not just a compilation of all the literatures, compilation of all the studies, but we have other types of research that doesn't need all of those, pero kailangan natin ng proposal or a proposed innovation, especially in the field of education. And that is or what is action research all about. All right? So I hope you bear with me for at least 2 or 3 hours. So sana meron kayong matutunan. All right. So when we say action research, probably um probably it is about a research, yes, in general. However, meron siyang kadugtong, meron siyang word na action, which is basically, it talks about something that you guys or something that teacher or future teacher can innovate, especially inside the classroom. Now, gaano ba kahalaga ang research? A lot of us know the story about South Korea, right? Many of us for sure are fan of K-pop. South Korea, instead of investing on too much infrastructure, way back before, where Philippines is still on the top, especially in Asia or in Southeast Asia, Korea is not that economically progressive. However, they invest too much on research, especially in developing young minds to come up with different researches. And look at Korea right now, 'di ba? Tingnan natin, parang in a bit, parang milya-milya na ang layo ng Pilipinas with South Korea. And that is because of the product of research. Okay? A product of research, specifically yung research na merong innovation. Alright, let's proceed. Now, action research is basically a process that allows educators, and by the way, since most of you are, or all of you rather, are soon to be teachers, hopefully, and will be part of that ed sometime, okay? So I am going to speak on the education perspective. I am going to speak on the Department of Education of what is action research all about. Again, action research is a process that allows educators to learn about their own instructional practices and to continue to improve students' learning. That is what the definition stated by Rollinson and Little last 2004 in their write-ups. Now, what does it mean by that? Okay, when we say action research, this is to allow educators, meaning the focus is on the education process. When we say research, it's not just finding out what are the things that need to be solved, or what are the problems that need to be addressed through a form of research. Okay, when we say research or action research, this can also help us teachers or future teachers to address on certain thing like the efficiency or the effectivity of certain instructional practices. So pwede yung ating classroom instruction, pwede yung ating classroom management, or pwede rin naman yung ating strategy. Okay? Ano-ano yung mga strategy na ginagamit natin sa classroom, whether inductive, okay, deductive strategies, the use of 4A's, so on and so forth. Okay, all of those can be done during or when we are making an action research. Actually, we are already doing action research in life. Okay? uh to be specific, minsan when we are asked, okay, when we are asked to do something, for example, the submission of requirements, so sometimes we find it hard to balance our time. We are actually doing action research by looking into what could be done for us to be able to submit on time. Okay? Ano ba yung pwede natin gawin for us to be able to submit on time? For us to be able not to submit our requirements na late na or more than the deadline. Okay, when we do that, that's already an action research. Okay, so to be more specific, ito, mamaya I am going to talk about the difference between a simple research, which is an academic research, and an action research. Kasi malaki yung kaibahan niya. Okay, para mas ma-excite kayo. Ang isa sa pinaka dreaded part in making research, especially if you are a newbie in making research, is how to gather and collect RRL, or review of related studies. Okay? In action research, walang RRL. Okay, walang chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, so on and so forth. But in action research, yung RRL mo is just a brief description of a specific study na pwedeng mo makita dun sa introduction or rationale. Okay, wala tayong RRL, wala tayong chapter 2. Okay, to excite you sana para mas ma-appreciate nyo ang beauty ng action research. All right. Next, action research, according to Hewitt and Little, it is a continuous and reflective process where educators make instructional decision in their classroom based on student needs reflected by the classroom data. Okay, what does it mean by that? There are times as teacher as well, of course, we are checking the assessment, we are also assessing the performance of our learners, And that is being recorded in which pwede natin gawing basis sa in order to make instructional decision. For example, you are utilizing a certain strategy and then you found out that based on the performance of your learners, ang nakikita mo parang the trend of the performance instead of improving by using that particular strategy, nag-decrease ang performance ng mga bata, nag-decrease ang performance ng mga learners mo. Okay, what are you going to do then? By doing action research, you might do or you might revisiting the strategy that you are using. Okay, by doing action research, it will give you an idea that that particular strategy is not effective. That particular strategy must be revised, must be improved in order for you to have a better performance among your learners. So it's actually the role of action research that give us all of those reflections. Okay? Hindi lang siya ginagamit or hindi lang siya gagamitin for a certain purposes, hindi lang siya gagamitin for just having a research, but action research basically help us to give decisions on what are we going to continue, on what are we going to improve, or on what are we going to innovate in the future. Next. Okay, what is the role of action research, especially in education? First, this serve as a stimulus of teachers take note changes including the changes in pedagogy, changes in their thinking, and changes in their confidence which leads which lead to professional growth and development. In making action research as well, it doesn't just give us the idea of how are we going to help our learners, but it is also a way of helping ourselves learning at the same time. For example, in an instance, you use a certain strategy. Kunyari, the use of 5 E's. Okay, the use of 5 E's strategy or even the 4 A's. Then you found out that when you are going to use 4 A's, it's not that effective. For example, sa mathematics, hindi ganun ka-effective ang paggamit ng 4 A's. Okay? One of the most effective strategy in mathematics is the use of number one, obviously the tested and proven, the lecture method, and discovery approach, wherein you are going to give materials to your learners, and they are the one who discover what are the things that they need to learn. Okay? So with that, it gives or it allows you as well as a teacher to learn, okay, to improve, okay, to have a growth as well as a teacher. So meaning, yung action research, it helps you in both ways, okay? Addressing the problem of your learners, and of course, you or the gap between you and your personal growth or professional growth. Okay? So that's basically the scope or the role of action research in or especially in teaching. Okay, now, in the Department of Education, we have the so-called Basic Education Research Agenda. Ano bang purpose ng Basic Education Research Agenda? Ito po yung legal basis ng paggawa ng action research. Yes, hindi po basta-basta na gumawa ka lang ng action research, kesyo ganito, kesyo ganyan. It has to be based on a certain legal basis for you not to be technical, especially in conducting your data. Meron po tayong guidance. Meron po tayong, or we are guided by a certain DepEd order. We are guided by a memorandum from the Department of Education when we are making action research. Dito natin malalaman ano-ano yung mga component ng action research, ano yung mga dapat nating gawan ng research. Okay? So we have to know this one first before tayo mag-create, before tayo gagawa ng research or the actual action research. Now, we call this one as Basic Education Research Agenda. Okay? So this is the content of Basic Education Research Agenda. All right. Okay, sandali lang. Okay. So, sabi nga nila, ganito talaga pag live show. So, you have to follow as much as possible. Anyway, so this is what a basic education research agenda all about. So as I said, basic education research agenda is our guide. This will be our cloth, okay, especially in doing action research. Okay, now these are the legal basis of our action research or when we are making research. First, you have the DepEd Order number 39, series of 2016, or also known as Basic Education Research Agenda. Okay, and these are other, the content of that particular DepEd order includes the DepEd mission and vision. All right. Okay. It also includes the DepEd number or order number 13 series of 2015, or which is also known as the policy development process that promotes evidence-based policy in formulation supported by research. So meaning lahat ng ginagawa ng ating mga heads, especially in the central office of the Department of Education, are always based on the evidence, are always evidence-based from the Department of Education. This also includes the DepEd Order number 43 series of 2015, and another one is DepEd Order number 4 series of 2016, which is also known as the Basic Education Research Fund. Okay, all of these future teachers are serves as the legal basis when we are making action research. Okay, next, what is the purpose of the Basic Education Research Agenda? First, the first purpose of Basic Education Research Agenda is to build on gains from existing research. Now, when we are doing action research, we can have or we can use or we can make use of the previous researches that are related to something that you would like to address. Okay? Meaning from the previous researches, you are going to make you are going to make your own research based from these previous and existing researches. Next, another one is to generate knowledge on less explored but priority fields of basic education. There are certain part or there are certain um, field of basic education that is kumbaga less interesting or less explored. So that makes it more exciting when you are conducting a research on that. Okay, for a while. Okay. Okay, sorry for that. So another one is systematically focus the DepEd's attention to relevant issues. Okay, educational issues. Obviously, now during the time of pandemic, okay, nowadays, one of our common problems, especially in the Department of Education, is how are we going to manage distance learning? Okay, we have a lot of modalities in distance learning. You have the online delivery distance learning. You also have the modular distance learning. We also have RBI or the radio-based instruction, and we also have the TBI or the TV broadcast instruction. So yun yung mga different modalities natin. And obviously, hindi yun ganun ka-perfect yung lahat ng modalities na yun. May mga problems tayo na pwedeng na-encounter from that. And that could be a source of a good action research. Another thing is to maximize available resources for research within and outside the department. So when you are going to make action research, you can also include other aspect which can be explored. All right. Next, what are the guiding principles in conducting action research? So meaning, hindi ka lang basta-basta mag-conduct ng action research. Meron talaga siyang mga guiding principles for us to be able to be cloth all of those DepEd order number 1. When we are making action research, our purpose of course is for excellence. Okay? Not just by ourselves, but also for our learners. You have to think of something that is relevant and researchable. Okay? So for now, obviously, yung mga relevant and researchable problems are related to distance learning, are related to the different modalities of education. I know for sure, kahit kayo mga pre-service teachers, meron din kayong mga na-encounter na problem even uh, even in your own school or even in your own modalities as well. So for sure, merong iba sa inyo na online, meron din iba sa inyo na modular, and again, it is not that perfect, but we are still adjusting and we are still embracing the new normal education. Another thing is, when we are striving, of course, for excellence, we are going to look into appropriate research method. Hindi yung pwedeng research mo is just based on haka-haka. It's just based on something that is or something that is just whispered through your ear. Okay? Hindi pwedeng ganon. You have to look into something that is statistically, okay, statistically researchable problems. Okay? Hindi pwedeng you would just like to ask something lang informally. Okay, that could not be considered as research. Yes, pwede, but it's just an informal research. Another one is a logical, coherent, and evidence-based findings. Mas maganda if you are going to make a research based on the evidence or the evidence-based research. Yung meron talagang basis. Ito yung nag-exist sa klasiko. Ito yung nag-exist na problem in my scope. Okay. Another one is integrity. It is very important when you are conducting research, obviously, talk about integrity. Okay. Ano bang mga saklaw kumbaga in Filipino? What are the components under integrity? Number one, when you are conducting research, you have to be highly ethical. Okay? High ethical standards. Obviously, if you are going to adopt a certain study, you have to recognize someone that write it or the someone na gumawa ng research na original author. You have to recognize all of those as well as kung saan ka magkakandak ng research, you also have to, syempre, proper protocol by asking permission. Okay? You also have to seek advice from, shall we say, sa mga teachers nyo before conducting such a study. Another one, honest and accurate in the collection, analysis, and reporting of data. Ito kasi yung minsan na hindi natin na-value even with doing basic researches or an action research. Sometimes, kasi we are very stiff on thinking na dapat ganito yung result. It has to be like this, it has to be like that. Hindi pwedeng ganito yung result. Otherwise, my intervention, my innovation would be useless. Okay. Take note that it is evidence-based. So whatever comes out from your data gathering, from your survey, you have to look into it as the basis. You have to interpret it according to what the result had given. Okay, hindi pwede na i-adjust mo dapat. Since I am doing a quasi-experimental research, meron akong experimental group, meron akong controlled group. Dapat ang performance mas mataas experimental, okay? Or mas mataas si controlled. Hindi pwedeng ganon, future teachers. It's because whatever comes out the data, there's no such thing as wrong researches. Okay? Unless, siyempre, kung gagawa ka ng laboratory-based researches for science teachers, okay. But for an action research, whatever comes out from the data, you have to utilize it. Another thing, we also have to be open. Okay? Openness, collaborative research work. Okay? I always say this one not only with my students but for teachers kung saan ako nag-speak. I always emphasize na when you are making research, you have to collaborate. Okay? You have to be open to work with other people. Okay, for example, kasi when you are making an action research, hindi mo kailangan ng mga matitinding statistical tools. You don't need all of those. You don't need ANOVA 1, ANOVA 2. Okay? Ang importante, you have a basic interpretation of your data. Because at the end of the day, it's not about the statistical tools. It's not about the statistics interpretation, but it always when we are talking about action research, it always boils down to what innovation, what change can you create out of that particular problem. You have to work with other people. For example, when you are making research hindi ko naman sinasabi na lahat ng mga math teachers or science teachers mahina sa English. But for sure, parang just like me, least like ko ang English. What I'm trying to say is, for example, in my case, I am doing certain research and I really find it parang hindi ako ganun ka competent, especially in writing. So I would like to ask the help of my colleagues, specifically an English teacher, to look into how I am going to do the writings of my research. That's collaborative work. Okay? Or in other way, ang English teacher ay gagawa siya ng research. He or she can also ask the help of mathematics teachers. Okay? In order for her data to be interpreted properly. So meaning a collaborative work, collaborative effort. When we are making research, yes, it's natural lang sa isang organizations that there are competitions, but at the end of the day, it's not about the awards, it's not about the recognition that you receive from doing such, but it's about the relationship that you build with your colleagues. Okay? It's about the things that you did with them, specifically on research. Okay? Another one, your research could be a multidisciplinary perspective. Pag gagawa ka ng action research, it should not be focused on what are you trying to look into. For example, strategy. Iniisip mo lang dapat itong strategy for science, itong strategy for math. You have to open na etong strategy na i-develop mo, etong materials that you are trying to develop can also be used by other fields. It should be multidisciplinary. It can be used by other teachers. It can be utilized by other fields of education. And the last one, truthful and timely dissemination of research. Yes, as much as possible, your research must be utilized. Your action research must be utilized. Hindi pwedeng itago mo lang yan. No, I have to keep this because baka kokopyahin ng iba. I have to keep this para hindi magawan or susunding pattern ng iba. No, the essence of research at the end of the day is to let go of other people to look into your study, to look something about it, and they can innovate out of it. Okay? You have to share. Sharing is good nga. Sabi nila, sharing is loving. So you have to share whatever research that you are conducting. Unless kung ang research mo obviously is based on chismis. Okay, that could not be shared, especially if it is private. Okay, anyway, next. So these are the research team na pwede nating gawa ng research. Yes, I'm sure since pre-service teachers kayo, alam ko someday you will be into DepEd. You not only in DepEd but you are also with private schools as well or CHED, Commission on Higher Education. So eto yung mga teams, eto yung mga field na pwede natin gawan ng research. So number one, you have their teaching and learning. Obviously, from the word itself, this includes teaching and learning process. Okay, pwedeng instruction, pwedeng assessment, pwedeng evaluation, okay, pwedeng performance ng mga bata. Ito yung kasali sa teaching and learning. Okay, another thing is for child protection. Ang topics naman na included sa child protection are the things that can help our learners to cope up on phenomenon such as bullying. Okay? Another one is human resource and development. So it's not just ang pwedeng researchable problem is not just for learners, but it can also include our teacher. Pwede mong tingnan. When you're trying to look into, for example, I'll give you an example na pwedeng researchable sa human resource. There are times when you are assigned, especially in a small public school, there are chance or a high chance that you will be teaching subjects that you are not familiar with. Okay? That you are teaching or you are handling subjects na hindi mo siya field of specialization. I experienced that when I first entered in DepEd. Okay? I remember that time, let me share a short story about it. I remember that time na during my first year teaching in DepEd, the subject load given to me was Filipino. Okay? Being a physics major myself, I really find it difficult to teach Filipino. And you know what? Makikita mo talaga ang difference ng effort ng teacher, especially pag yung tinuturo niya, it's not his or her field. You know what? The first mistake I did when I handle Filipino, nagka-interchange ang definition ko ng anong tawag yun? Saknong at I don't lines. Nakalimutan ko na sa sobrang parang na-embarrass ako in a bit. Okay, saknong at saka taludtod. Yes, the use of saknong and taludtod nagka-interchange. So that's why ang nangyari, one of my students asked me and clarified about ano ba talaga, which is which. So, from that, sabi ko, it's hindi pwedeng papasok lang ako sa classroom at magtuturo lang. Okay, yes, I've read a lot about it, but hindi lahat alam mo. Although yes, they are basic, but you can look into it. Okay? So meaning in human resource development, pwede mong tingnan yung performance ng teachers. Pwede mong i-assess ang performance ng mga kasamahan mo na for example, they are handling subjects na hindi nila field. Okay? Now another thing is governance. Governance are usually done by school heads. Usually done by the principal. Okay, but there are also topic under governance na included din or under din sa governance na team. So you have there kasi meron na mga researches ngayon in public school na inclusive education. Okay, inclusive education that includes IP education. Another one is gender and development. Okay. Another thing is DRR or disaster risk and reduction management. Okay, yun yung mga topic under governance na pwedeng i-explore ng ating mga researchers. All right. Now, for governance, yes, ito yung sinasabi ko. For governance, you have disaster risk reduction management, inclusive education. Another one is gender and development. And we call these topics as cross-cutting. Pag sinabi natin cross-cutting, it can either fall into those themes. So pwede siyang teaching and learning, pwede rin siyang child protection, or pwede din siyang human resource. So we call that one as cross-cutting themes. Now, for teaching and learning, ito yung sinasabi ko kanina na meron tayong 5 field na pwede nating i-explore. All right? First, you have there the sub-themes which is instruction. When we say instruction, we are trying to assess our strategies na ginagamit inside the classroom. Whether is it effective or whether it's less effective in a certain subject. So yun yung ginagawa natin ng topic. Okay, don't you worry, I am giving a specific topics later on in every or each of these themes para meron kayong idea ano yung mga topic na pwede nyong gawan ng research. Okay? Another one is curriculum. Okay, what is the effect of a certain curriculum? For example, the spiral progression of the K to 12. Spiral progression, the K to 12 curriculum. Ano ba yung effect ng K to 12? Ano ba yung effect ng spiral progression sa ating mga learners? Okay, well, in my experience, I could say na obviously before and even now medyo negative ako sa spiral progression. Okay, why is that so? Because spiral progression tends to feed everything to our learners, a little bit of everything. Okay, so for example, hindi na ako lalayo sa science. Before, obviously in my time I was under RBEC, the revised basic education curriculum. In science, for first year high school you have their general science. For second year high school you have biology. For third year high school, you have chemistry, and fourth year, you have physics. Okay? But in spiral progression, all of these 4 are actually integrated. Nile-level up lang yung level of difficulty. But the question is, yes, nile-level up ang level of difficulty, but the problem is, yung mga previous learnings ng mga bata, hindi na nila, okay lang sana kung yung retention span ng ating mga learners is ganun kataas. Pero minsan kasi pagdating ng grade 9, grade 10, nakakalimutan na nila even yung grade 7 nila na topic. So yun yung parang medyo loophole ng ating spiral progression. Okay, but for sure DepEd is trying to do something about it by conducting a lot of researches. Okay, another one is about learners. What is the difference between the performance or the academic performance of learners? Okay, using different strategy. Okay, or what is the what will be the performance of your learners if you integrate ICT? Okay, another one is assessment. You are assessing a certain strategy. You are assessing the efficiency of a certain strategy. And the last but not the least, for under curriculum and instruction, you have there the learning outcomes. All right, so let's proceed. Okay, how are you going to frame a research question? Now, informing or with this topic, ito yung mga general guidelines natin, informing research question or framing research question. Obviously, number one kasi, ang paggagawa ka ng research, ang una mo talagang gagawin is to look into something. Yung research question mo, ano yung gusto mong gawa ng research? Obviously, begin with grand tour questions. Yung pinaka main question no na gagawin mo. What are the problems or most salient about may teaching situation. Okay, you are going to or you are trying to assess yourselves and even the instruction. The topic to be investigated is clearly and concisely stated. Okay, the action or intervention you intend to implement that needs to be clearly stated. And of course, research question usually begins with what, why, and how. Okay, you have to ask yourself first, okay, what can you do with this problem? Okay, how are you going to solve this particular problem in order for you to conceptualize your research? All right, so let's move on. So eto na, these are the possible questions na pwede mong gawan. These are the possible topic na pwede mong gawan under teaching and learning. First, in the curriculum and instruction, the topics you can ask could be, what factors affect teachers' delivery of the curriculum? What are those factors? Okay? What are the different factors affecting my delivery of my lesson? Okay? Obviously, if you're going to look into it, number one, talagang lalabas dyan, if it is not your specialization, you really find it difficult to teach a certain topic. Okay, ano ba yung mga topics na pwede mong explore with that particular type of question? Number one, you can look into the materials and resources. Does materials and resources affect your delivery of the lesson? Obviously, yes. Okay? Pag kulang ang materials, kulang ang books, kulang ang resources, you cannot fully achieve what your goal is. Mga siguro mga 85 to 90% na-achieve mo siya, but then merong remaining 10% na pwedeng maging drawback nung materials or the availability of materials and resources. Another one is, does ICT in education improve my way of teaching? Yes, it's a perennial question. Obviously, yes. So you can look into these topics na pwedeng mag-guide sa iyo in order for you to have a very specific and a result based na research. How about the language, the medium of instruction or the MTBMLE? Okay? Merong mga advantage, speaking of MTBMLE or the mother tongue based instruction, okay? Merong mga advantage and meron din siyang mga disadvantages. The advantage is that mas madaling maintindihan ng ating mga learners, especially kasi MTB-MLE is only implemented from grade 1 to grade 3. Okay, Ma'am Diane earlier mentioned about elementary practice or pre-service teachers. Yes, you have to make sure na alam mo yung mother tongue kung saan ka re-assign after you graduated. You have to know about it because MTB-MLE is being utilized in grades 1 to 3. Okay. The advantage is that mas madaling ituro sa mga bata because they speak the language. Okay, or they speak the dialect. However, the disadvantage is that especially those technical terms or highly technical terms in a certain dialect. For example, in Oh, sige. I would like to give example. Yung pamangkin ko, I remember that time, he was still in grade 3. Okay? And then, ang nakalagay dun sa kanyang module, ang nakalagay dun sa kanyang materials na binigay ni teacher is, kasi Ilonggo sila. Okay? Ilonggo din yung kanyang instruction. So, ang nakalagay doon is, uh, may pamangkin ask me, kasi ang nakalagay doon is, isa ka bituon, dugangan mo sang isa ka bituon, pila ka bituon. Okay, that was the question. Obviously, yung pamangkin ko hindi niya alam yung bituon. Okay, he or she is not familiar with the term bituon. Ang alam niya lang kasi obviously star. Mas madali kasi yung star. Okay? So actually, the English is that one star plus one star. Pero ang ginamit sa mother tongue is isa ka bituon, dugangan mo sang isa ka bituon, which is for her is a bit difficult. Okay? So the disadvantage is that pag hindi alam ng mga bata yung mga technical terms. So you can look into that. Okay? Ano bang effect? What's the perennial effect of mother tongue based instruction? Okay, is it that effective? Or what if pagdating ng bata ng grade 4 kasi English and Filipino na lahat, so, kung emphasis is done on the MTBMLE, how are we going to improve their performance when it is in plain or straight English and Filipino? So, pwedeng gawan yun siya pwede yun siyang maging factor in delivery of the lesson. Another one is continuing professional development and support. Can study or master's study help us for effective delivery of the lesson? Okay, definitely yes. So you have to study after you graduate. Mas maganda kasi yun. Okay, another one is classroom management. Okay, what's the difference between a large group of learners and handling a small group of learners? What's the difference when you handle a sped fast learner and a regular class? Okay, does the delivery of the curriculum matters, or does the delivery of the curriculum changes as well? So pwede mo siyang gawa ng question. Pwede mo siyang gawa ng research. Another one is lesson planning and preparation of intervention materials. Okay? Intervention materials would help you to enrich the learning or the established learning of your learners. Does your lesson plan, does the strategy being utilized in the lesson planning affect the quality of instruction that you are giving towards your learners? So these are the different topics na pwede mong gawan ng research in instruction. All right? Next, for another question for instruction is, what teaching and learning strategies can teachers apply to ensure inclusive and learner-centered education? Okay? So pwedeng, kasi nowadays dapat learner-centered as much as possible. It should be the learners that are doing the task and the teacher should be the facilitator of the learning. Hindi na pwede yung teacher-centered na kung saan spoon feeding yung ating mga estudyante. It has to be learner-centered. Ano yung mga topics? What are the topics that can be included under this particular type of question? Number one, inclusive education that includes SPED, could either be fast learner or special students with special needs. Another one is IP Ed or IP education among for South Cotabato among Blaan and Tiboli learners. You have their alternative learning system or the ALS, and of course the alternative delivery mode or ADM. How about differentiated instruction? Okay, I know um, in your subject, especially for principles of teaching and curriculum and instruction, you already discussed about the different learning styles. Okay, di ba, you have their auditory, kinesthetic, okay, you have their visual learners. So all of those should be included in the individual learning styles. Okay, and multiple intelligences. Before 7 lang yan, ngayon naging 8 na. Hindi natin alam, baka magiging 9 na siyan later on. Okay? Or another one is, what's the effect of collaborative learning among your learners? Is collaborative learning highly possible during this time of pandemic? So, pwede mo siyang gawan ng mga questions. Pwede kang mag-frame ng questions out of those specific topics. Alright? Next. Okay, for curriculum, ito yung mga questions na pwede natin gawan ng topic. For example, how is curriculum able to contribute in achieving learning outcomes? So ano ba yung mga topics na pwede mong i-include dyan? Alright, so the topic that can be included is the contextualization. When we say contextualization, future teachers, you are going to look into what's in the context. What's in your context, or in your place, or in your classroom. Ano bang problema in the classroom base? What are the things that could be done to improve students' performance in your situation right now? So that's contextualization. It should be based on the context of your own learners. Another one, yung sabi ko kanina, the spiral progression. What are the disadvantages and advantages of spiral progression? Okay? A little bit of everything. Yun nga sabi ko kanina. So HOTS or higher order thinking skills. Those are the topics na pwede nating i-include. The integration of ICT. The integration of music. Effective ba kung magtuturo ako, since techie halos ang mga students ngayon? Effective ba kung magtuturo ako ng grammar? Magtuturo ako ng English using TikTok? Okay? Or effective ba ang pagtuturo ko if I am going to use vlogs? Okay? Or blog, pwede rin? Or effective ba if I am going to make use of social media platform? The integration of the integration of the modern way of teaching. Another one, how is the curriculum responsive and relevant to learners? Ano ba yung pwede nating tingnan? Again, contextualization, localization, indigenization. For example, for contextualization and localization, obviously, when you teach the different seasons, you can have all of the examples for dry, okay, or summer. You can also have for fall, okay, okay, or um, you can also make use of ano ba, rainy seasons, okay? So meaning, in the context and the locality of the Philippines or in the locality of South Cotabato or the Region 12 in general, okay, all of those seasons occur except obviously for winter kasi wala tayong winter. Now by that, pwede ka nang mag-integrate by integrating other western or other countries na merong snow. Okay, kasi wala namang winter sa Pilipinas. Now, what is my point? The point is you are going to look into the specific situations, the locality, anong meron dun sa locality. For example, you are teaching volcanoes at my background. If you are teaching volcanoes, you don't need to make use of other volcanoes. For example, bakit ka gagamit ng Mount Fuji? Okay, kung meron naman tayong Mount Matutum, okay? Which is dormant, okay? A dormant volcano. So meaning, make use of what is the available materials or what is the available examples in the community. So when you teach about cloth, okay? Why making use of other cloth kung meron naman tayong tinalak here in South Cotabato? So meaning, you indigenize, you localize, and you contextualize. You may look into those topics. What is the difference between the performance of teaching volcanic eruption or volcanoes when you use Mount Matutum other than or rather than using Mount Fuji? Okay? So meaning, make use of those. Okay? Make use of those topics na pwedeng maging source ng action research. Alright? Another one, anong mga topic ang pwede nating i-frame for learners? What factors affect the learning behavior of the learners? Number one, the child development. Another thing, does environment or classroom environment affect the learning behavior of the learners? Does the teaching strategies utilized by the teacher affect the learning behavior of the learners? So pwede mo siyang gawan ng strategy. For example, you were assigned in a much lower section that is arranged homogeneously. What strategy that suits them? Okay? If shall we say average or below average ang performance nila, what strategy can be utilized for fast learners? Does the learning behavior affect the teaching strategy? So, those topics, those kinds of topics ang pwede nating ma-include. Okay, another one. What contributes to the values formation of the learners? Okay, parati nating sinasabi that when we are developing our learners, it must be holistically. Okay? Hindi lang pwede puro intelligence, hindi lang pwede puro brain. Okay? Kaya nga 'di ba pag gagawa tayo ng um, objectives, we have the so-called CAP. Okay, the cognitive, the affective and the psychomotor. Hindi pwedeng cognitive affective lang, hindi pwedeng cognitive and psychomotor lang or much more hindi pwedeng psychomotor lang. It must be a holistic development. Does values being developed in such thing? Okay? For example, does the values formation of learners is affected by the school? How about the community? Okay? How about the culture? Which is, does the culture affect the values formation of the learners? Meron bang factor? Or the home related factors? Yun bang nature ng bata sa bahay is affected by the performance? Of course nga, kaya ko nga sinasabi kanina, we are guided with different legal basis. However, we also have to think that we have to be ethical in making our research. We have to consider culture, we have to consider the parents, we have to consider the community as well. Okay? These are the different topics na pwede nating i-include, pwede nating gawan ng study when we talk about learners for curriculum and instruction. All right, let's have the next one. What factors affect for assessment na ito? What factors affect the implementation of classroom assessment? Ano ba yung mga topics na pwede nating i-discuss in that? First, you have their classroom assessment, the formative and the summative assessment. Does teachers' expertise in constructing various types of assessment affect the implementation of classroom assessment? Okay? Nakakaapekto ba ang paggawa ng teacher ng assessment dun sa performance ng mga bata? For example, if ang exam mo or your written assessment, lahat lang sila is knowledge level. Lahat lang sila is comprehension level. Okay? Hindi siya, I mean, puro lang siya na-fall dun sa lower order thinking skills. What will be the outcome if your test construction focuses only on remembering? Okay? Now, what I'm trying to say is you can look into the effectiveness or the efficiency of these types of tests. Okay? You are trying to assess what will be the difference in the performance of the learners if I am going to use multiple choice test or the enumeration type of test or the identification type of test. Obviously, we are all knowledgeable now in terms of making tests. Okay, the do's and the don'ts when you are going to make tests. We are also know or informed that the most effective and standardized test is multiple choice. Okay. Another one is the availability of assessment tools and resources. All right. Next, we have how is assessment utilized? Paano ba yun-utilize ng teachers yung assessment, especially inside our classroom? Does classroom assessment improve instruction? Okay? Or improvement of instruction progress tracking of the learners? Pwede natin gawa ng question. Another one is national assessment of teachers. Okay? Yun bang pagre-rate or we call that one kasi as IPCRF or the individual performance rating for teachers. Okay, IPCRF na ang focus niya is to look into the performance of the teachers for this particular school year. Okay? Does it affect the assessment or how the teachers assess his or her learners? So pwede natin siyang i-include dun sa topic na i-discuss natin with our research. Okay, last for teaching and learning. You have there the learning outcomes. The questions can be framed out of it is, what factors affect the achievement of learning outcome? Does the teacher profile affect the achievement of the learners? Does the learning environment affect the learning outcomes? How about learning resources? Okay? So pwede siya. Or, how does achievement of expected learning outcomes vary in terms of practices per school? Okay? You have there the partnership. Pag included ba ang parents sa pag-assess or sa pag-deliver ng instruction, is mag-iiba ba, mag-improve ba ang performance ng ating mga learners? How about the typology, the political and economic factors? Okay? So, for example, in a well-developed municipality, what's the difference between learners living in for example, in poblasyon compared to the barangay schools in terms of performance? So, pwede mo siyang i-compare. So, meaning, when we are making action research, hindi lang siya focus on the classroom, on the school, pwede ring in the community. Okay? And even in the whole municipality if you wish. Okay? That's a very good action research. Or even in the whole division or in region kung kaya mo. Okay, why not? Okay, kasi ang purpose naman at the end of the day is to give information, a reliable information, a research-based data na pwede nating i-share. All right. Next we have theme 2, which is child protection. What are the things? What are the topics na pwede nating magawa ng research or ng action research? How can DepEd best address the following child protection concerns? Number 1, bullying. Paano ba i-address ni DepEd? Especially nowadays, alam ko, napakadaming child protection policies. Okay? Ang common complaint nga ng mga teachers, di ba? Ang dami-daming child protection policies pero wala kang naririnig or wala pa tayong naririnig na teachers protection policies. Okay? Yes, it's very true that bullying happens within learners, but we have to also take note that teachers as well are human. We are also susceptible for bullying. Pwede din tayong maka-experience ng bullying. There are also instances even before na teachers are being bullied by the learners. Di ba? Or unconsciously yung mga bata nabubuli nila si teacher or the other way around. Okay, how about the problem on teenage pregnancy, which is very common? Okay? Which is a common problem na alam naman natin na you cannot address this in a click or a snap of your fingers. Okay? So what are the specific topics na pwede nating include? Number one, physical bullying. Okay? Physical bullying obviously happen inside the classroom or in school in general. Okay, we have a lot of viral videos na yung mga bata nag-aaway kahit naka-uniform pa. Okay, emotional bullying. Okay? Obviously, the other factor that contributed for that is the physical bullying. How about cyberbullying, which is very common? Sabi nga nila ngayon, 'di ba, ang bullying before only happened physically, wala pang social media. But now, nag-upgrade din pati ang bullying. Nagiging cyberbullying na siya. But you have to be careful. Ang karma is also cyber. Baka magkaroon ka ng cyber karma. Okay, di natin alam. Baka ang karma mo is digital. Another one is the reproductive health education. The very controversial reproductive health education. Yun yung mga specific topics na you can look into it for child protection. If you have noticed, it focuses on protection of the children or the learners in general. Okay? Ano yung mga general topics na pwede nating magiging source ng ating data gathering? How or history of the problem. Paano ba nag-start yung problem like physical bullying? How does it occur? Okay? How does it happen inside the classroom? Or how cyberbullying happens in social media platform? Another one, the level of its prevalence. Gaano ba siya kadalas? Okay. Gaano ba kadalas na nangyayari yung cyberbullying? Okay? Um, Common problems right now obviously is the mental health, not just by our learners but also with our teachers. Okay, minsan that is contributed, or mga factors na nag-contribute for our mental health problems or issues is of course bullying, specifically cyber bullying. Another one, what are the factors that contributes to the problem? Okay, the vulnerable segments. Bakit ba, or ano kaya yung mga factor na nag-affect sa cyberbullying? Okay, pwede siguro na when you are, siyempre ngayon ang daming bashers kaysa sa supportive, di ba? We call them bashers right now. Okay. Before ang tawag natin, wala pang social media, ang tawag natin diyan mga ano lang, mga inggitero at saka mga inggitera. Now we call them bashers. Okay, those who have life issues. Okay? Now what I'm trying to say is you can look into those factors. What are the factors that affect physical bullying? What are the contributory factors that affect cyberbullying? Is cyberbullying more more worse, okay, than physical bullying? So those are the questions that you can frame out of this particular topic when you are making your action research. All right, let's move on. Another topic for that is child abuse. Okay, does child abuse happen inside the classroom? Okay? Does child abuse happen sa bahay or even in the community? Okay, ano yung mga specific topics na pwede natin include? Obviously, the grave child rights violation, the child labor. Okay? Child labor can be considered as child abuse. Okay? Take note of these, future teachers, that for example, you have a group of 40 or 50 students inside the classroom. The first thing that you have to do is to know each one of them. Okay? Baka mamaya meron kang specific students na parati mong pinapagalitan, meron kang specific students na at times sinisigawan mo siya without knowing na ano talaga yung meron, ano yung mga experience na, what are his or her experience outside the school. So you have to know that, which is can be considered na child abuse. Okay? Yun bang bata pagpasok niya sa classroom kaya siya parating natutulog sa klase mo is hindi siya kumakain. Okay? Kaya siya parating nahuhuli because he has to walk 3 or 5 kilometers para lang makapasok sa klase. And then ikaw, papagalitan mo lang kasi parating nalilate. Okay? Or this particular honor student na sobrang matalino pero mababa sa extracurricular. Pwede mong tanungin, ano kaya problema niya? Okay, hindi mo pwedeng sabihan na lang, oh, you have to make effort to join this, to join that. Hindi mo alam na meron siyang financial problem. Meron siyang support problem coming from his or her parents and even with the community. So you have to look into it. Hindi pwedeng kung ano lang yung nakikita mo as from the surface. Okay, sabi nga nila, 'di ba, that the teaching is the most noble profession among every profession. That's very true. Because ang function ng teacher is parang convenience store. Okay? 24/7 ang function natin. We can also be bank. Okay? We have to look for we find ways, nga sabi nila. Yun yung mga characteristic ni teacher na hindi pwedeng i-ano lang, isantabi lang. Kaya nga sabi nila, teachers are the modern heroes. Okay? Modern heroes. Pero sana all is napapansin yung pagiging modern heroes natin mga teachers. Another one, addiction. Okay? Ang addiction ngayon, class or teachers, ang addiction ngayon is not just physical. Okay? Not just mental, but also virtual addiction. Online gaming, substance abuse, social media, okay? Especially mga trolls, the keyboard warriors, ang dami-dami niyan. Yun bang they cannot find themselves happy when someone they know is achieving something? Yung parating may nasasabi, parating may mga unsolicited advice. Okay? Another thing is online gaming. That is very common, especially with generations of learners right now. Ang isa sa mga nakikipagkompetensya sa focus sa attention ng bata is the use of online gaming. Okay? Hindi ko naman sa dinidiscourage, but it has to be limit. Okay. Dapat meron siyang regulation. It must be regulated. It's okay to play. Nowadays nga napapansin ko meron ng mga tournament ng online gaming. Yes, it's okay that we are coping up with the advancement of technology, but again, it must be regulated. Okay? So ano ba yung mga effects ng online gaming addiction on the performance of the learners? Okay? Yun bang the physical appearance ng learners mo is being affected by this certain addiction? So pwede yung mga ganong topic, yung mga simple topic lang, not necessarily na highly elaborated and critical topic na pwede mong gawa ng research. Simple research will do. Simple action research will do. How about media consumption? The time. Okay? The time na sinispend ng mga bata, the time that the learners spend in browsing internet, in surfing internet, watching television. Okay? Netflix, K-drama. Alam ko hindi lang mga learners ang addict diyan. Meron ding mga addict diyan na ating mga teachers. Okay? Kaya nga 'di ba, DepEd even proposes the use of learning of Korean language. Another one is cell phones. How does cell phones affect the performance of the learners? So you can look into these topics na pwedeng gawan ng research. Okay? So meaning, for the general topic, you have there to look into the effect of this. Okay? And then interventions. What intervention ang pwede mong gawin? For example, what intervention that you can propose in order for the use of internet will be, or the use of social media will be regulated? Okay? So pwede, you can propose na, 'di ba, if you heard the news, I hope you're updated with the news na, for example, in China, they now limit everyone, not just the learners, but the use of mobile games to dapat 1 hour lang a day. Okay? Otherwise, they will be penalized for that. Okay, another one is the use of monitoring and evaluation, or the use of feedbacking. How does feedbacking or giving feedback affect the performance of the learners, particularly on these general topics such as the child abuse, addiction, and media consumption? Okay, another one or another component is general human resource development, or the general research question for human resource and development. This is very timely that you are a pre-service teachers na pwede nyong tingnan later on pag mag-a-apply kayo ng DepEd. You can look into this because you have all the rights to ask question about it. Okay, obviously, but in a good and a proper way. General questions. How effective is the professional development framework in the delivery of the K to 12 curriculum? Okay. Ano ba yung topics na pwede nating titingnan? Specialization of the teachers or the learners, okay, or the future teachers, the quality of years of experience. Another one is the language proficiency. That's why when you are applying public schools, you have to take the English proficiency test or the EPT so that you will be, or the level of your language proficiency will also be tested. Another one, the academic skills. Obviously, for academic skills, you cannot teach in public schools without graduating an education in an education courses or earning an education units. Okay, the ICT integration. How is it possible? Um, or is it possible that all the teachers can do digital learning or can do or can teach online learning? So you can look into it. Now, what qualifications and competencies are required for teaching in an inclusive learning environment? Okay? What are the skills inclusive education? The qualification standards and criteria for hiring. Pwede you can look into it. For example, obviously when you graduated from college, hindi kayo kaagad maka-apply in public school. It's because you have to take the licensure exam for teachers, which takes a year, of course, before you can apply in public schools. So, for example, you are applying in a private school for experience. Okay, you have to look into something that they set or a standards that they set which serves as their criteria in hiring. If they put there that teachers who can teach these particular learning areas, pag alam mong hindi yun yung tinuturo mo na subject, obviously, meron ka ng parang drawback dun sa part na yun. Okay, you can look into it is, or you can look into something na, yun bang qualification standard na siniset nila is that effective or is that efficient in terms of hiring teachers? Okay, how about interpersonal skills? Does the interpersonal skills of the teachers affect the entire or the quality of his or her teaching? Okay, yun bang social skills ni teacher is makaapekto ba sa kanyang way of teaching? That can be an action research framed out of the human resource and development. Next, what are the issues and challenges in the hiring, okay, in hiring teachers, and how can this be addressed? Okay. Now, sige, bibigyan ko na kayo ng tip as of the moment. Okay. Pag mag-a-apply kayo ng public school, obviously, mag-a-apply kayo dun sa locality nyo. Mas madali kasi kayong ma-hire pag doon kayo mag-apply kung saan yung localization nyo. For example, taga Coronadal ka, so mas madali kang ma-hire pag you are applying a school within Coronadal. Kasi nowadays, ang basis ng hiring natin is localization. Kung saan ka naka-station, kung saan ka galing, doon ka mas madaling ma-hire. Unless otherwise, pag mayroong mga bakante in other schools. Okay, how about in the localization law? Okay, the thing that I mentioned earlier. How about in ranking system? Paano ba nirarank ang pag-apply in a public position? Okay, or public school position, especially for permanent. What are the qualities? What are the things that they include? Okay, are those things relevant? So pwede mo siyang gawa ng research for human resource and development. Pag HR ka kasi, you have all of this scope na pwede mong i-include. How about natural vacancies? Okay, what is natural vacancies? These are a permanent position in the public school kung saan the previous teacher was promoted. For example, teacher 1 siya, naging teacher 2. The teacher 1 now is the natural vacancy, or the teachers who retired. Bakante yung item niya, yun yung natural vacancy. Okay, or how about the political influence? Siyempre, we have to accept the fact na even up to now, meron pa ring mga padreno system or meron pa ring mga political influence even in hiring of teachers. All right. Next. Okay, now for governance, eto na yung theme for natin kanina. For governance, what factors affect transparency and accountability in DepEd operations? In DepEd kasi, we have this MOOE. Ang MOOE parang um, it's something to do with the financial aspect of the school operation in general. Okay, ang pwedeng gawa ng research dun ni school head, take note that most of the topic under governance are done by the school heads. The accounting and auditing rules. How about the procurement law? Okay? Transparency reporting, the fiscal autonomy. Yun bang pagre-report, pagpo-post ng mga financial status ng school sa ating transparency board can affect the trust of the SGC or the school governing council? So pwede siya. How can school effectively respond to the grievances from teachers, learners, parents, and community? Kaya nga sabi nila, pag principal ka, lahat problema mo. Problema mo ang school, problema mo ang mga estudyante, problema mo din ang mga teachers. Okay. I'm sure naiintindihan ako kung meron dito ng mga school heads or administrators. Okay. How about the policies and practices? The school structures. Okay, the resolutions. Ano-ano yung mga resolution na ginagawa ng ating community in order to address problems in school. Okay? So, ang alam ko, isa sa mga very common na one of the most common resolutions na ginagawa ng community for school is that to close internet cafe pag or during school hours. So, it's a product of research. All right. Next. Okay. That ends for the different themes na pwede natin gawa ng research. Now that you know what are those themes, we will proceed on how to construct our action research. Tapos na tayo kung ano yung mga dapat include sa research, ano yung mga pwede natin gawa ng research. Now we will focus on how can we make an action research or what are the different parts of action research na pwede nating gawan. Okay? All right. So first, obviously, when you are going to make a research, you are going to formulate your title. So number one na gagawin mo, the first part of the research obviously is your title. Formulating research title. So in formulating research title, you have things to remember. Okay? Number one, you have to make sure that the title is concise. When we say concise, it must be specific. Okay? It must identify the actual variables or theoretical issues. Ano ba yung problem na gusto mong isolve? It must be included in the title. Another one for formulation of title, it must be a topic that is under investigation and the relationship between them. For example, using of ICT and the academic performance of the learners, meaning the relationship between the ICT integration and the actual performance, the academic performance of the learners. Next, for APA format, ito yung ginagamit natin. Tandaan natin ito, future teachers. For APA format, we have 10 to 12 words lang ang pwede. Okay, so meaning, hindi kasali dyan yung ating mga, yung is and are, we call that one articles, hindi siya kasali. Okay, for DepEd, for Department of Education, since future teacher kayo, pag gagawa kayo ng action research, you can have at least, or you can have not less than 10 siguro, but not more than 17 words. Okay? Again, for DepEd, you can have 17 words or below. That's for the title. Okay. Next, avoid using an abbreviation. Okay. When you are making your title, as much as possible, you have to avoid using abbreviations and redundant words such as a study of, an experimental investigation of, meaning redundant na yun siya. You can go directly to the topic that you have or that you are going to state. Okay. That is for your title. I'm going to give samples for that later on. Another one, make it catchy. Make it interesting. Take note that when you are going to make research, hindi lang ikaw ang babasa niyan. Hindi lang ikaw ang magde-discuss niyan. Hindi lang din ikaw ang magiging beneficiaries niyan. Take note that there are also people that will be looking or reading into your research. So dapat title pa lang, it must be interesting. It must be catchy. So that for example, ako pag magbabasa ako, title pa lang, okay, this sounds interesting. This particular research must be very important. So I have to read it. So sa title pa lang, when you um, when you stimulate the minds of the readers sa title pa lang, mas magiging effective yung study, mas madami ang magiging reader. So take note again, you have to avoid using abbreviations, okay, and redundant words. You have to make it interesting and catchy. Okay, I'll give you examples. Okay. In depth ed, I already formulated two action research. The first one that I did way back in 2015 or 16, I guess. Ito yung topic ko. Okay? The topic or the title that I did was Computer Operated Simulation or COS. Kung makikita nyo, di ba sabi ko kanina, avoid using abbreviation. So, hindi pwedeng ang gagamitin ko lang na term is COS. Okay? Kasi hindi technical, these are technical terms. So, hindi lahat alam kung ano ibig sabihin ng COS. So, dapat sa title pa lang, it must be spelled out. Okay? So, computer-operated simulations, an alternative for unavailable laboratory apparatus and setups. So, meaning, sa title pa lang, you have to know what is this study all about. So, if I am going to read this one, oh, okay, this is something to do with simulation. Okay? This is something to do with a research that is based in simulation which serves as an alternative for unavailable laboratory apparatus and setups. Okay. The next one is the one that I did. This one was I did and competed in Thailand. Fortunately, it won. So this was the title of that research. Learners level of science process skills basis for 21st century scientific skills enrichment program. So what I did with this research is that through a laboratory setup, through a laboratory experiment, um, I had a survey among my learners in their science process skills. Okay, yung science process skills nila including observation, measuring, predicting. Okay, yun yung mga level of science process skills. Okay. So you might notice puro science kasi po again I am a science major. So ang focus ng studies ko are more on science. So another one is syempre yun na nga in actual research, as I've said earlier, hindi pwedeng mag-identify ka lang ng problem. It's not good that you will identify the problem only. It's not good na you are just going to look into this problem, then what's next? Okay? So with this research, trying to make, okay, a skills enrichment program. Okay? Take note of the term enrichment. Discourage na ngayon, especially in education landscape, we discourage the use of the term remedial. Okay? Instead of the kasi ang connotation ng remedial, especially with learners, parang yung mga yung mga least yun nga ang term nila, yung mga bobo nandun, yung mga list na below average nandun. So instead of using remedial, we make use of the word enrichment. Meaning, may mga natutunan na, may mga basic knowledge na, may mga prerequisite na knowledge na yung ating mga learners. All we need to do is just to enrich, to develop kung ano nang meron sila. So these are examples of titles na pwede nating i-follow. For example, again, computer-operated simulation or the COS, an alternative for unavailable laboratory apparatus and setups. Okay, for the second one, learners' level of science process skills, basis for the 21st century scientific skills enrichment program. So, that could be or yun yung mga example ng title. Okay, next. For the second part of your study, okay, kung mapapansin nyo, wala na tayong introduction. The first one is titled, diretso ka agad the second part, which is context and rationale. Okay. Ano ba ang laman dapat ni context and rationale? Okay. Ang laman dapat ni context and rationale, what are the things that be included in the context and rationale are the following. Number one, the context of the problem. Meaning, when we say context of the problem, the real situation within the locality, the real situation within its context, kung anong meron sa school, anong nangyayari sa school, anong nangyayari sa community. Okay, next. The reason for conducting the study. Okay, meaning, in your context of rationale, which we considered as the first part of your study, you have to include there what are your or reasons for conducting such study. Why you would like to make a certain or a research for that particular topic. What is your goal? What is your objective? Bakit gusto mong gawan ng research? Bakit ba gusto kong gawan ng research ang unavailability ng mga aparatus? Bakit gusto kong i-test yung process skills ng mga bata? So I am going to state there that because we don't have functional laboratory, I have to make use of computer simulation. Okay? Because of the low performance of my learners in my subject, I have to check or to evaluate their science process skills. Okay? Why is that not everyone have mastered the conversion of units? Conversion of units such as length, meter to centimeter, kilometer to meter. So I have to look into it. What are the factors that affect the learning performances? So you have to state there in your context and rationale. Rationale, of course, means the reason why are you conducting. You have to state there what is the reason why you would like to conduct such thing. All right. Next. The next one is when you are going to make your context and rationale, it should answer the need for conducting the research. Okay, the research or this particular research must be conducted because, for example, because the performance of my learners are below average or subpar. So I have to do something like this. The researcher must conduct the study in order to. So pwede natin siyang i-include. You have to state there, you have to include there, why do you need to conduct the study. I hope hindi ako ganun kabilis magsalita, future teachers ha. Ma'am Dayan, feedback niyo po kung masyadong mabilis yung aking pacing sa pag-discuss. Alright. Okay. Next, you have there, it should justify the significance and novelty of the study. Obviously, ito yung tinitingnan natin, di ba? Sa basic research, doon natin tinitingnan, meron doon kasi the significance of the study. Okay? But, in action researches, walang significance of the study. But it must be walang significance of the study na part, but it must be included in the context and rationale. Okay? It should justify the significance and novelty of the study. Okay, I have to do this research because this could be benefited by the following. Pwedeng learners, pwedeng teachers, pwedeng administrators, pwedeng future researchers. You have to include all these elements in making your context and rationale. Okay. Now, kasi future teachers masyadong limited yung number of pages natin for action research. As far as my memory is right, for DepEd 14 to 18 pages lang. Included na doon ang references and the abstract. Okay, for action research. And take note, with that 14 to 18 pages, 3,000 words lang po ang pwede. Again, 3,000 words lang ang pwede for action research. So it's very limited. So that's why you have to capsulize all the things that needed to be conducted or that needed to be included in your study. All right. Now, for context and rationale, this is how are you going to write it. Okay? To write your rationale, you should first write a background on what all the research has been done and on your study and topic. Okay? So meaning, as I've said earlier, wala kasi tayong part na review of related literature or related studies. We don't have that part for action research. For basic research, meron. But for action research, wala. So meaning, in the context of rationale, in the context and rationale, I mean, you have to include yung mga RRL, but it should be not that maximum number of words. Okay? Yung mga ano lang, yung mga main ideas na pwede mong i-include. Pwede mong sabihin, according to ganito, according to ganyan, that this particular problem is a perennial problem. Not only in the classroom, but also in the whole country. Okay? After stating that the previous study had been done for your selected topic, follow this with what is missing. Okay? Or what are the open questions of the study? Okay. So meaning, you have to include the what is missing. Why is that? Why does it or why is that this problem happen? Okay? What is missing? What should be included in there? Okay? Next, identify the gaps in the literature and emphasize what it is important to address those gaps. Okay? It is very important, for example, this study or this research must be conducted so that, okay? So pwede ka nang mag-start doon. You can now start addressing those gaps. So meaning to say, when you are conducting research, number one for the context and rationale, the content, why you would like to conduct the study, and the reason why you would like to do it. Okay? Why do you have to do it? So meaning, yung mga elements na yon, it must be included in the first part of your research, which is your context and rationale. Alright? Okay. I hope okay lang kayo. Okay? I hope you will bear with me. Malapit na tayo matapos anyway. So next. Oh, there. There you go. For action research question, eto na. For basic research kasi, we have this so-called SOP or a statement of the problem. Okay, for action research, we do not use statement of the problem. Instead, we use action research question. Kung makikita nyo, almost the same din naman yung pattern. 'Di ba? For basic researches, you have there the introduction. Okay? The problem and its setting. We call that one for action research, problem and its setting. But in action research, we call it context and rationale. And then after ng problem and its setting for basic action research, we have their SOP or the statement of the problem. But in action research, we have, for action research, we call it action research question. Okay? For action research question, ito yung mga dapat nating tandaan. In framing your questions, first, you have to use, or this action research question must be used to guide the action research process through the design and conduct of data collection, the analysis and validation, which is called the strangulation of data, and writing the report. So make sure that in your action research question, you have at least three questions to be asked. Okay? Pwedeng maging four or five, but not more than five questions for action research. All right. Problems to be answered. What are the things that needs to be answered in conducting such research? That should be included in your action research questions. Okay? And of course, as I said, at least three questions must be stated or must be framed. Okay? So when you are going to make action research, make sure na meron kang at least three questions. All right. Next, eto na. For action research, obviously, you have there the proposed innovation, intervention, and strategy. So kahit na proposal pa lang siya, meron ka ng target. You have to make sure that you already have a target innovation that you would like to propose. Okay, since you already have an idea what this particular problem all about, you are now trying to propose an innovation. Pwedeng materials, pwedeng program, or pwedeng intervention and strategy. What are the things that I can suggest in order for this particular problem to be solved? Okay, meaning in your second part or in the second part of your study, the proposed innovation and intervention should be stated. How are you going to make this proposed intervention and strategy? So ito yung dapat nating tandaan. First, the proposed innovation, strategy, or intervention must be localized, indigenized, and specific. Okay? Meaning, when you are trying to propose a certain innovation, it must be based on the locality. You have to consider the local, you have to consider the respondents as well, and it must be specific. Take note, it must be properly described and presented. Your innovation must be properly described and presented. Mind you, future teachers, when you are joining competitions, when you are joining research competition, specifically an action research competition, it's not about the statistical tools that you use. It's not about how good the written write-ups is. It's always boiled down to how good the innovation and the intervention proposed is. Okay, minsan doon na lang nagkakatalo. When you join competitions, doon nagkakatalo sa part na sino ang may pinakamagandang intervention, sino ang may pinaka-realistic and achievable intervention or innovation. Alin doon sa most of the researches, alin doon ang may pinakamaganda na gawin agad-agad sa school. Meaning, we have to go back to the purpose of research. It's not just identifying the problem, but to propose a solution. That's why, in this particular part, you have to make sure that it must be properly described and presented. All right. Next, take note of the following parts of your proposed innovation. First is the rationale, of course. Why the reason why are you going to make or to propose that particular intervention, introduction as well, objective. What is the objective of your proposed innovation? Okay? Methods. How are you going to conduct that one? Monitoring and evaluation. How are you going to monitor and evaluate your proposed innovation? And obviously, the last one, how will this particular innovation work? Paano ba gagana? Ano bang mechanism nito? Sino bang unang mag-utilize nito? Who are we going to make use of this research? Who are those who will implement this particular research? So again, your research, innovation, and intervention must include these following parts. All right. So now, for the third part, obviously, in our basic research, we call this one as the methodologies. Chapter 3, methodologies. Okay? So meaning, if in basic research we have there chapter 3 methodologies, for action research you have there the part 3 which is action research methods. Okay, if you have noticed talagang merong action research na mga words because action research is a highly specific type of research. Okay, next, ano ba, what are the things that needs to be remembered, what are the things that need to be included in your action research method? First, participants and other sources of information. In your action research method, you have to describe who are your participants, who are your respondents, where are the information could be get from, what other sources of information ang pwedeng kunan. Okay, for example, the respondents of this particular research are grade 12 STEM students, or the respondents of this research are grade or senior high school students specializing in ABM or accountancy business management. So meaning, you have to identify who are your participants. Later on, malalaman natin kung bakit masyadong specify dapat. Why is there a need for us to specify who are our respondents? Ano bang type ng sampling method ang ginagawa for action research? Okay, next. Specifically describe the respondents, whether learners, teachers, administrators, parents, or any other stakeholders. Okay, these are your respondents. Okay, take note that the state and other, or you have to state the other sources of information. For example, previous research studies, data bank, and etc. Okay, now, for research method, we also have to remember that we have this so-called sampling technique. Okay, sampling technique, sampling in a quantitative research method. Kasi obviously, action research is a quantitative type of research. Pwede siyang maging qualitative if we are using or make use of phenomenological studies or case study. But in general, most action research are quantitative studies. Ano ba yung sampling method? What are the sampling method that we can make use in action research kung bakit masyadong nakaspecify yung ating respondents? Okay, let's see. For sampling or research sampling, first is the random sampling. Each member has an equal chance of being selected, obviously for your statistics and research topics. Okay, Random sampling has the most controlled type of sampling method. Okay. Next, you also have, we can also utilize the convenience sampling. Convenience sampling meaning whoever is available to be the respondent of your research. Not specific, but it's based on the convenience of your respondents. This can be utilized as well for action research. Okay, next. Another one is probability sampling. Okay, and obviously the non-probability sampling. For probability sampling, you have there the simple random, meaning randomly selected yung ating research respondents. And then systematic, there are process in sampling method. And of course, stratified, a group, grouping your respondents. And also have clustered sampling method. I will not be talking more of this sampling method because I know this was already discussed in your research classes. Now, for non-probability sampling, we have their convenience. Yung sabi ko kanina, the availability of your respondents, whoever is available. Another one is quota. For quota sampling, an example nito is survey. Okay? The Philippine Statistics Office na survey. Census is a quota sampling method. Next, purposive. Okay? Purposive is whoever the specified respondents. For example, your study is about the performance of grade 3 pupils. So therefore, your sampling method is purposive, meaning you purposely selected the grade 3 pupils to be the respondent of your research. And the very famous snowball method. Okay, now take note in the data gathering method, describe the process of collecting data and the instrument to be used such as checklist, survey questionnaire, and test questions. When you are gathering data, make make sure that you describe the process. How are you going to collect the data? What instruments that you're going to utilize? Sir, question, for example, mag-a-adapt lang ako ng instrument. Do I need to state that one? Yes, it's very important that you need to state that you need to state that your study is adapted from. Okay. Yes, i-emphasize ko po ulit ha. In making action research, we are encouraged to replicate studies, but not to duplicate studies. The difference is that when we replicate studies, meaning uh, the process of conducting the study is similar to the previous studies. However, there are differences in terms of the research locale, in terms of the research respondents, and how did you collect your data. Although similar ang format, similar ang team, pero magkaiba kayo ng respondents and lokal. Yun yung tinatawag natin na replicated research. On the other hand, the duplicated research is that you conduct the same study, you use the same instrument, you utilize the same statistical tools, you utilize the same respondents, and definitely the same locale. And it's a big no in research. Again, there is the difference between replication and duplication. Yes, it's okay to replicate studies. For example, I'll give you a specific example. When I conducted a certain study here in my station, the Poblacion Pulumulok National High School, my study can be conducted as well in other school. Pwedeng i-conduct sa Coronadal National Comprehensive High School. Pwedeng i-conduct sa Tupi National High School. Okay? Meaning, they replicated my study but they utilizes different setups. Okay? So, pwede yun siya. Pwedeng i-utilize. I-utilize, I mean. What I'm trying to say, yung guiding principle natin kanina, you can collaboratively make an effort to work with other group of people. But again, take note, okay? As much as possible, you have to recognize whoever did the research first. Proper citation is very important. Okay? Remember, ayaw natin makasuhan ng um, intellectual property kasi yung mga researches. We have to ask permission. Otherwise, kung ipapublish mo yung research mo, plagiarism talaga ang labas. Okay? Next. We have validation of the instrument is necessary for the reliability of the result. Yes, same true with basic research. If you are going to create a research made instrument or checklist or questionnaire, you have or it must be undergone validity. Okay, it must be undergoing validity and reliability test. Dapat ang mag-validate dyan mga experts. Who are the experts? Master teachers, okay, full-fledged na mga master's degree holder, okay, doctor in education. Kung sino yung naka-assign or kung sino yung mga expert in a specific field, we can make use of them. Okay, we can ask them to validate our instrument. Now, another option is we can make use of DepEd provided instruments. For example, gagawa ka ng pre-test and post-test research. Okay, or item analysis. Okay, obviously, mas mahirap na or mahirapan ka na or it takes time for you to create your own test tapos ipa-validate mo pa. Okay, ano bang pwede nating gawan dyan, Sir Tino, or gawin dyan, Sir Tin? The good thing that you can do is you can utilize the DepEd materials. Okay? Kasi allowed naman ang mga teachers na gumamit ng DepEd materials, especially when you are in public school or serving in public school, because those materials are highly standardized. When we say highly standardized, it was already validated by some expert, not just an ordinary expert such as master teachers, but doctors, doctor in education, okay, experts such as education program supervisor. Those are experts that already validated the instrument. Hindi naman ilalabas yan ng DepEd, although there are other discrepancies in terms of data. Those materials are highly standardized, meaning it was already approved. Ilang beses na yan dumaan ng standardized and validity test. So we can make use of those materials. All right. Next, for the settings and local in research. Take note, dun pa rin tayo sa part 3 sa part 3 which is action research method. Okay? The second part for action research method is settings, local in research. Okay, for settings and local, we have types of research settings. You have there the natural or field settings, the classroom base. You have there the partially controlled settings, okay, meaning it's the researcher's choice, whoever his or her pick on who will become the respondents, and then the highly controlled or the laboratory settings. Ito yung mga studies na conducted in a laboratory setup. Okay, so again, these are the three types of research settings: the natural or field settings, the partially controlled settings, the highly controlled or the laboratory settings. Okay, now for additional for research methods, you have there the data analysis plan. Okay, for data analysis plan, you have to describe the sampling technique and statistical tools to be utilized. For example, the researcher will utilize purposive sampling, and the statistical tools again will depend on what type of study that you will be conducting. For example, a quasi-experimental, for example, sa quasi-experimental, you have there the control and the experimental group. The best statistical tool for that is t-test. Okay? Again, the best statistical tool for that is t-test because you will be able to identify the significant difference between the two performances. So again, for data analysis plan, you have to describe the sampling technique and statistical tools to be utilized. Okay, next. Purposive sampling is the most, take note of this, purposive sampling is the most appropriate for action research. Why is that so? Because primarily, you already identify who are your respondents in the first place. Since you identify mo na yung respondents mo, because the intervention that you would like to do is to address a specific problem of a specific group of respondents. So meaning, purposive talaga ang parati or most of the time ang ginagamit natin. Ang pinaka-appropriate din for action research are purposive sampling. Meaning, predetermined yung iyong magiging respondents. Ano na lang, doon na lang mag-vary sa data gathering or whatever will be the data came out from the data gathering procedure. All right. Next, we have simple analysis data or simple data analysis will do. As I've said earlier, in action research, you need not to utilize all those highly technical statistical tools. For example, analysis of variance, the ANOVA 1 or ANOVA 2. Okay, ANOVA ginagamit lang natin for experimental method or experimental researches. Okay, G-square, not necessarily. Meaning, what I'm trying to say is you don't need a highly technical uh, statistical tool or statistical analysis tool in order for you to interpret your data. Again, the emphasis for action research is more on the intervention, innovation, and strategy. Output-based po ang action research, not just the identification of the problem. Okay, next. Okay, after your action research method, the next part of your action research is work plan and timelines. Okay, now for action research, it is very important that you have to be specific with your work plan and timelines. Okay, why is that so? For example, you are trying to look into the performance of your learners, for example, general physics. Okay? In general physics, obviously, this particular subject is only offered in grade 12 first semester. Okay? So since offered siya in grade 12 first semester, you have to make sure that the study will be conducted within that time frame of the first semester. You have to be specific with your timeline. Kasi baka mamaya, you are collecting this information about General Physics 1, ang General Physics 1 is offered in first semester. Tapos yung timeline mo is in the second semester. So meaning, yes, your study is at time, your study is updated. However, it's no longer it's no longer valid in terms of time frame. I'm talking about the data. Hindi na siya ganun ka valid ang data mo. It's because hindi na specify yung timelines. Okay? So, in what are the things that needs to be remembered in making your work plan and timelines? Okay, number one, you have to make sure that in your work plan, you have to be specific in terms of pre-implementation phase. Okay? You also have to include the implementation phase, meaning we're talking about the conducting of data. Anong gagawin mo dun sa pre-implementation phase? Of course, constructing questionnaires, looking into other readings. The implementation phase is the actual conduct of the data gathering and the post-implementation method. That is now the data interpretation and the, the, the proposition of or the proposing of your innovation and strategy. And of course, the last but not the least for your work plan is the dissemination and the actual training workshop. For example, meron kang ginawang material. Okay? And that material, based from your research, it is very effective for group A sets of students. Now, you want your other teachers or you want other teachers to emulate are the things that what are the things that you do in your research. So meaning you can conduct trainings with other teachers on how they are going to make use of the result of the study. For example, gumawa ako ng study on computer operated simulations and my respondents are STEM students. Okay? So I am going to train now teachers who are handling ABM or humanities and social sciences on how they can utilize this particular study. And that falls on the dissemination and actual training workshop. Okay, let's proceed. Now we have for the cost and estimates. Yes, for action research, it's very important that you have to state the cost estimate of your research. Okay? Meaning, you have to be specific kung magkano kaya ang gagastusin. Okay, sir, bakit ba kailangang i-include si cost estimate? in the education perspective, specifically in DepEd, all researches done by the teachers, specifically action researches done by the teachers, is actually uh, budgeted by the school or funded by the school. Meron pong fund for action researches. Pag gagawa ka ng research mo sa school, ang gagastos niyan is the school itself. Okay? Saan ba pwedeng kumuha ng mga funded or ng mga fund na pwede nating i-include? Okay, for the cost estimates, there you go. You have to briefly describe the cost estimates of your proposal depending on the allocated fund from the MOOE. MOOE is it has something to do with operating expenses of the school. Meron kasing budget sa school like I guess mga 5 or 10% of the total school MOE na pupunta yan dapat sa research fund. Okay? Meron din tayong local fund, yung mga research fund na galing sa LGU or the local government unit. And yes, pwede rin tayong kukuha ng budget from, when we are making action research, pwede rin kukuha ng budget from the school canteen. Okay? I am now talking about uh, who will, okay, who will fund your research. And obviously, the Basic Education Research Fund. I am the recipient of 2019 Regional Basic Education Research Fund, and the fund given to me when I conducted my study is 20,000 pesos. Yung 20,000 na yun yung allocated dun sa research na kinonduct mo. So meaning, in the cost estimate part of your study, you have to describe there kung magkano or the amount of money that you will be spending in conducting your research. Kahit na 50 pesos lang yan, kahit na 100 pesos lang yan, you have to include it there so that it will be funded and specifically funded by your school. Okay? Now, for pre-service teacher, sir, is it necessary ba to include cost estimates? Yes, pwede nating include yung cost estimate kasi baka mamaya pwedeng i-utilize ng school nyo or ng RMMC yung ginawa nyong research. Kasi ang alam ko, ang RMMC meron din silang Basic Education Department. So pwede nilang i-utilize yan and para malaman din nila yung mga cost of that particular or conducting that particular research. Okay. Now, you also have to include the plans for dissemination. Okay. I think this was the second to the last part. Okay. The plans for dissemination and the utilization of your study. Who will utilize? Who will benefit? Sino ang gagamit? Sino ang mag-implement? It must be included. For this particular part, what are the things that need to be remembered? First, describe how are you going to disseminate the result of your study. For example, I would say that the study will be developed and will be utilized in the basic education department of the Ramon Magsaysay Memorial Colleges. Okay? Or that this particular study can be disseminated or can be implemented in the teacher's education department. Okay? So you have to describe it there on the plans for dissemination and utilization part or parts of your action research. You have to include it there. Next, the utilization of the data for future researches. Paano ba ma-utilize yung ginawa mong research? Okay, how will the future researcher utilize your data? Okay? And last but not the least, the part of your research obviously is the references. Yes, it is very important to include the references. And again, proper citation must be observed. Okay? You have to follow the APA format. In making action research, you have to follow the APA format. Now, for APA format, I guess, the technical part of the action research for APA format is that um, your paper, okay, the technical part is your paper must be in A4. So dapat naka A4 ang research mo for for action research. Naka A4 ang paper, then the margins will be on the left side is 1.5, then the top, bottom and the right side should be 1 inch. Okay? 1.5 ang left again, 1.5 ang left, then the top, bottom and the right side should be 1 inch. Okay? As for the spacing, it must be double space and Arial. Okay? Arial double space and ang font size niya is Arial 11 for DepEd, and for APA format is Arial 12. Again, for APA format Arial 12, then DepEd is Arial 11 double space. Yun po ang technical part ng ating research. Okay, in making your action research, I mean. Okay, now, what are the parts? Yun na nga, i-summarize natin the parts of an action research. Okay, now, in-include ko din dito yung basic action research na baka ipagawa din sa inyo sa school nyo. Okay, for basic action research, eto po yung mga included. All right, I'm going to post it here and then there you go. Okay, the parts of action research that includes basic researches. Okay, and there, as I've said earlier, your formulation of the title must be concise. There you go, 10 to 12 words for APA, up to 17 words for DepEd. Okay. Next, for example, ayan, yung title natin kanina, the basic formulation, pwede rin kasi ito mag-fall for action research or the basic researches. And then sa introduction for basic researches, when you are going to introduce, you have to specify the problem under study. Describe the research strategy and develop the background that is based on the literature. State the purpose and rationale explaining your approach to solve the problem. This is for basic researches na. Okay? The statement of the problem, research questions, problems to be answered, and again, at least 3 questions. Now, for review of related literature for basic researches, take note that only research pertinent to the issue should be included. Yung mga related lang dun sa studies na ikakandak mo. Okay? Logically connect the previous body of literature to the current work. Okay, or to the recent studies. There are different sources na pwede nating gamitin, such as books, journals, or online sources. This is for basic researches. Now, for basic researches as well, use the past tense to express an action or a condition that occurred at a specific or definite time in the past as when discussing another research work. For example, Sanchez presented the same results, so on and so forth. Okay? Next, to set off reference citations, ito yung kailangan nating i-include. Okay? You have there the name of the researcher, the family name, for example, Dumas and Dore in 2011 reported that, or it is fully described elsewhere, then you state the author. Again, this is for basic researches na. Because in action research, pwede rin tayong gumawa ng basic researches. Okay? Conceptual framework. Okay? For conceptual framework, independent and dependent variable must be included. Okay, computer-operated simulation, and then, ayan na yung sample natin kanina. The use of IV and DV for your conceptual framework. For action research, no need for conceptual framework. But for basic researches, you can have conceptual framework. Okay, another conceptual framework, this one, you have there the IV and the DV, and you can also include intervening variable. Take note, when you are making simple researches, lahat ng arrow, lahat ng lines, magmatter yan siya. It has to be specified properly. Okay. And the famous action research na conceptual framework is IPO, or the input, process, and output. The input is the thing that you're going to include, that you're going to experiment, that you're going to deal with. Then you have the process. Sa process naman, include natin si lahat ng process na ginawa mo when you are conducting your research, such as the pretest, the formulation, validation, and finalization. And then there you go, the other process such as post-test, statistical treatment, presentation of data, and data interpretation and analysis. And obviously, your output is the innovation or the strategy that you are trying to propose. Okay? Another one for conceptual framework for IPO. Ito, another example. The input is chemistry courseware. The process is validation, testing, and evaluation of courseware. And the output is improved chemistry performance. Okay? Conceptual framework. The use of independent and dependent variable. Okay? Ito yung mga pwede nating include. Now, for methodology, the research design, the locale of the study respondents, and so on. Now, this is for basic researches. All right. Now, let's try to look into the difference between a basic and action research. Titingnan natin based on the guidelines or based on the standard. Okay. So based on the standard, here is the difference between a basic and simple researches. Okay. This is based on the DepEd order, DepEd Order 16 series of 2017, the research management guidelines or the guidelines of how to conduct a research or an action research. The different components or the different parts are the following. Now, eto, for basic research, research proposal template, eto po, future teachers, eto yung kailangan makita for basic research. So you have there the introduction and rationale. Kung makikita natin, meron tayong literature review. You also have there the research question. The scope and limitation is also included. Now, for research methodology, for basic research, included po ang sampling, data collection, and the ethical issues, as well as the plan for data analysis. And then you have there the timetable chart, the cost estimate, and the plans for dissemination and advocacy, and the respondents, or the references rather. Now, for action research, eto naman, yun yung kaibahan niya. Ang kaibahan niya for action research is that yung diniscuss natin earlier are the basic action research template. So the first one, eto parang summary na ng diniscuss natin. The context and rationale, yung sinabi ko kanina, the reason why are you going to conduct such study, the action research question, which is the SOP or the statement of the problem, and the third part is the proposed innovation, intervention, and strategy. Kung makikita natin, the difference is that wala na tayong literature review. Because again, your literature review can be included in your context and rationale. Doon mo na isi-state yung mga previous studies na nakandak that will help enlighten the readers of your study. Now, for action research methods, letter A, as I said, you have to be specific in terms of who are your participants, who are um, who are the respondents of your study, where are the information can be gathered, meaning the research local. Okay, same true with your research respondent. For letter B, how can you gather the data? The data gathering method. How can you collect data? Okay? What are the statistical tools or what are the instrument that you're going to use or that you're going to utilize? Okay? And next, you have the data analysis plan. How are you going to interpret and analyze your data? Okay? What statistical treatment that you may use in interpreting your data? The part 5 is the action research work plan and timelines. As I said, you have to be specific with your plan of dissemination, with the whole plan and the timeline as well. Okay? Kasi ang basic action research is very short but it must be comprehensive. It should capsulize everything na nandun sa 14 to 18 pages. Okay? Compare mo kasi sa sa formal research or formal researches, um, dapat paramihan ng RRL, paramihan ng, I guess, yung mga teachers natin for thesis requires at least 20 to 30 pages of RRL. But in action research, there's no such thing as ganun karami kasi nga limited ang number of pages and number of words. And for action research, you also have to include, as I said, the cost estimate of your study. Okay? And then, for part 4 or part 7, the plan for dissemination and utilization of the data. Kung makikita natin, mapapansin natin, there is an emphasis on the dissemination and utilization of the data. Again, let's go back to the definition of your action research. This will serve as guide in formulating or in analyzing um, or in or looking into the strategies, the 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 instructional decision that you are going to make. So it is very important to utilize and to disseminate the proper information out of your research. And obviously, the last but not the least, you have to include all the references that you use. It should be in APA format. Depende na kung anong version. Pwedeng 16, pwedeng ang latest ngayon is APA 17. So the technical side of APA format must be, yung sabi ko kanina, it must be double space Arial 11 for DepEd and Arial 12 for APA format. And the sides are left side is 1.5 and all of the rest of the sizes is 1. And it must be written in an A4 bond paper. So yun po ang basic action or action research template. Ito yung mga dapat natin makita when you are making your action research. All right. So I guess that ends my talk about action research. Now, before I am going to fully end my action research, I'd like to challenge everyone, especially the future teachers, na you have to look into this type of researches because these type of researches make us more effective, make us more make us more reflective of what are we going to teach, of what strategies that suits our learners. It's reflective at the same time kasi natutulungan tayo bilang mga teachers. And before I fully end, I'd like to share my journey in terms of research. Before I started teaching, obviously I started as teacher 1, but take note, because of action research, because of uh, because of my interest into research, my promotion, I hope I will inspire all of you, my promotion is a bit faster compared to other teachers. After 3 years, I was promoted into teacher 2. Then after 6 months, I was promoted into teacher 3. Kasi ngayon, in public school, hindi lang ito labanan ng academic achievements, hindi lang labanan ng pag-aaral, but it is also labanan na rin siya, especially in promotion, ng mga innovations na ginawa natin bilang mga teachers. Another thing is that I was able to travel, aside from being promoted promoted in the position that I have now, I was able to travel Southeast Asia. Basically, I was able to travel Southeast Asia because of researches. And take note, all of those travels that I did were actually free. Okay, bakit siya free? It was funded by the local government unit, it was funded by the province, and it was funded by my school. So, yun nga, you will compete, libre na nga yung travel, at the same time, the experience of sharing the best practices of you as a teacher and in the school and in the Philippines. So sana lang, hindi lang hanggang dito sa pakikinig sa akin sa research, sa topic ng action research, sana ma-inspire din kayo na gumawa ng research, not because you want to travel Southeast Asia, bonus na yon, but to make use of your knowledge, to make use of the basic knowledge and research that will help you improve your teaching, improve yourself as a teacher, and definitely to help our learners to achieve greatness. Maraming salamat po, and I am now ready to accept or to answer questions coming from you.
Okay, ayan. Thank you very much, sir, for that wonderful lecture slash sharing of your experiences in your journey of research. As I was checking the group, the stream, sir, there
Okay.
seems to be no question given by the students, but I would like to ask everybody in the
Okay po.
live stream. Hello, hello. Good morning, everyone. May I ask for your questions that you wanted to ask our speaker, esteemed speaker for this time? And if you have question, please feel free. But
Okay.
nevertheless, sir, I would like to give my thanks to you for sharing specific topics as well as yung mga researches
Yes
na
po.
ginawa mo po. It's really a good thing that you are there to help our
Yes.
future educators in their journey to be teachers in the near future. Lalo-lalo na ang target natin, sir, are all graduating students
Yes.
of
Opo.
both Ramon Magsaysay Memorial Colleges, Jensen, and Marbel. Wala talagang questions. I could not see any questions.
Or baka nahiya kayo mag-question.
Kaya nga po, wait
Okay.
lang.
You can ask question po. Questions that is related to research, ha? Okay.
Yes, yes, of course. Parang ano, para kasing, wait lang. Wala talaga, sir.
O yung mga estudyante ko, baka may question kayo.
Yung mga students to ni sir. Noted
Oh.
sa kanya, baka may tanong po kayo. Wait lang. Wala po talaga.
Wala di question.
Wala. Joy
Okay.
question, sir. So because
Okay.
of that, sir, I would like to give once again, my thanks to heeding our call.
Yes.
Our call of need. Lalong-lalo sa ano. I'm going to share my screen.
Okay po.
Since there is no questions coming from the comment section, may I proceed with the next part of our program, sir, which
Okay.
is the awarding of certificate to
Oh.
our guest speaker for this time. So, may I read the content of the certificate? Ramon Magsaysay Memorial Colleges, Marbel Incorporated, Purok Waling-Waling, Arellano Street, Barangay Zone 2, Coronadal City. Certificate of Appreciation is awarded to Agustin A. Pandoma for rendering his time, effort, and passion in sharing his expertise in the webinar on how to make action research aired in South Cotabato, Philippines. Given the 17th day of September 2021 at Coronadal City, South Cotabato, Philippines. Signed by our program director, Dr. Johnny S. Vantulo. Sir, once again, I would like to give really my thanks to everything that you have shared to
Okay po.
our students. Thank you very much once again, Sir Agustin. I'm going to
Thank you.
get in touch with you, sir, for other details. Thank you once
Okay.
again po.
Thank you so much, Ma'am Dayan, and thank you also to Dr. Johnny S. Mantulo for inviting me and for trusting me to discuss something for action research. And thank you as well to Sir Nathaniel Bangok for
Yeah.
recommending me. Salamat, Kuya Nathan. Okay, salamat din po sa trust, and I hope sana merong mga natutunan yung ating mga estudyante. And I will be glad to see or to know that these future teachers will be part of DepEd sooner or later. Good luck, everyone, and I hope you will continue teaching for our learners. Maraming salamat po, ma'am.
Okay, so thank you very much po ulit, sir, once again. And now, let's do the recap. Kung wala kayong tanong sa ating speaker, pues ako madaming tanong sa inyo. This will going to be another part of our program. Aside from the fact that we have the selfie serie, we also have the recap, or I'm going to ask a series of questions. Then you're going to answer in the group chat or yung sa comment section. And then I'm going to choose a few of you or yung iba na who answered the questions correctly, then there will going to be prizes that are going to be given to all of you. Please let me stop my sharing. Ayan. I'm going to check on your... there was a question here, sir. Ay, ngayon lang sila nag-question, sir. Sir, could you entertain questions po?
Yes, 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 yes.
Okay.
Okay, ma'am. It's okay po.
Sige po. Thank you very much, sir. There was a question from, I don't know if this is the full name or real name of the student.
Okay.
Rialen Haple.
Okay.
Good morning, sir. Maaari po bang gawin ng research ang college? Yun yung tanong niya, sir. Kasi wala namang high school or elementary. Siguro, sir, ang target niya dito since halimbawa sa deployment,
Okay.
wala naman po siguro, ay wala naman po kasi kaming really that deployment ngayon sa public given the restrictions that we have in the department and in the municipalities that the students are in. So siguro yung tanong niya, sir, is pwede mo bang gawin yung research nila sa college?
Okay.
Kasi wala namang high school at elementary.
Okay.
Yun yung first question po.
Okay, you can, yes, to address the question, yes, you can conduct studies among college students. Pwede. Actually, mas better ngayon kasi the answers that you will be able to gather is more more specific and elaborate compare sa elementary or high school ang respondents mo. Aside from college students, obviously are well-established learners, mas may quality yung data na makukuha mo even if you are still also a college student and conducting researches among your co-students. Mas maganda ngayon. Yes, you can. You can choose college students as your respondents.
So ibig sabihin, despite of the fact that the students really are not really that deployed
Okay.
in the field, which is the Department of Education, lalo na sa partner schools po, they could
Opo.
still do research, especially action research, pero ang setting nila is in the tertiary level or college
Yes.
level.
Yes, very
Okay.
much.
Parang yun lang naman po yung question na nakita ko.
Okay.
Once again, thank you for answering, sir.
Okay. It's okay po. Okay.
Now, I'm going to give questions to our students. Please, if you have answers. Bakit parang ano? Isang question pa po, sir. Ilang years po ba daw allowed para maging valid ang citation sa isang action research po?
Okay, for action research, as much as possible, for literature, I think she is referring for literature. 5 years, 5 years back, pwede. Okay, kasi unless you are going to make use of theories, kasi theories are tested and proven naman, even way back, okay lang siya pag theories. But if you're talking about related studies or literature, 5 years back is allowed. Okay, but I guess as of now for DepEd, pwede naman yung from 2010 going to 2020 or 2021, allowed yun siya.
So there, I hope Sir Agustin has answered your question, Sir Soriano. And I am hoping that I am not mispronouncing everyone's name because I think he is a student from RMMC Jensen. There was a commendation to you, sir, from Leia Kweme. A very understandable discussion coming from you. Sabi po ng isa nating participant in the group chat.
Thank you. Salamat.
Ayan, thank you very much po. Parang mga estudyante din pala ito sila, sir, no? Sabi ko, ako ang magtatanong. Eh di madaming tanong nagsilabasan. May God.
It's okay. Typical type of students.
Yes po. Okay, so let me ask questions to everybody. These are just simple questions that everybody could answer in the group chat. Okay, first question. The basic research agenda is stipulated in what DepEd order? The basic education research agenda is what is stated in what DepEd order? So I'm going to give everybody a chance to answer this one. Paunahan po, sino yung makakasagot? I repeat, basic education research agenda is stated in what department order number? Yung full po ha, yung department order number, tsaka yung series. If everybody is really answering. Okay, we have here DO6, DO39, very good. We have the answer coming from Sir Joshua Soriano. Very good. This is DepEd Order number 39, series of 2016. Joshua Soriano. Very good. Ayan, so you got the answer correctly. Ang iba pero mali ang year. Please take note, dapat kompleto. Next question. I have here other next questions. There are 3 guiding principles according to the discussion of Sir Tino. There are 3 guiding principles in the conduct of research. What are those 3 guiding principles? In the conduct of research, there are 3 guiding principles. What are those? Kindly enumerate. Enumerate po. Okay, very good. The correct answer is excellence, integrity, and openness. And it is Miss Romy Ann Piodos who got the correct answer. Congratulations, Miss Romy. Romy Ann Piodos. Very good. That is excellence, integrity, and openness. Make sure that you are going to put into heart these 3 things, lalong-lalo na if you're going to conduct your very own research. Next, I have here the next question. Next question. According to the presentation of Sir Tino, this is a process that allows educators to learn about their own instructional practices and to continue improve student learning. According to the presentation of Sir Tino, this is a process that allows educators to learn about their own learning, their own instructional practices, and to continue improve student learning. What is the answer? Very good. The correct answer is action research. And that is Miss Nerlin Magnolia Celis. Okay? The correct answer is action research. Yes, very good. The answer is action research. But it was Miss Celis na mas mabilis kesa sa inyong lahat. Okay, next question. Let's go with question number 4. There are 4 research themes na gidiscuss ni Sir. Please enumerate those 4. What are the 4 research themes na gidiscuss ni Sir? Please enumerate those 4. Okay, teaching and learning, child protection, human resource development, and governance. Okay, yes, the correct answer is are rather teaching and learning, child protection, human resource development, and also governance. And the first who gave the correct answer is we have here Miss Rosel Kabadi. Now, let's move on to question number 5. Question number 5. There are many things that you need to consider in developing or formulating research titles. I wanted you to give at least 2. Dalawa. I'm going to consider 2 answers here. Okay? In formulating a research title, meron po kayong maraming gagawin. So what are those? Who could give me answers? 2. Dalawa po. Okay, we have here. Okay, we have here Jonelle Impang, number first. Concise and identify actual variable. Very good. Ano pa? Wala pong paulit-ulit. Dapat iba na naman. Concise and specific, yun yung point ni Miss Impang. Madami pa doon. Ano pa po? Isa pa. I'm still finding others. Madami pa po yun. Make interesting and catchy. Okay. Very good. Okay, ito. We have here Miss Mangumpig Norhama. Avoid using abbreviations and redundant words. And also make it interesting and catchy. Very good. No, it was still Miss Impang. Okay, let's give chances for others, Miss Impang, but nevertheless, your answers are still correct. So other things that you need to consider in formulating research title is, or are, you need to avoid abbreviation and redundant words, and also you need to make it catchy. Very good, Miss Mangumpig Norhama. Next question is, there are 5 sub-themes for teaching and learning. What are those? There are 5 sub-themes for teaching and learning. What are those? Okay. Sige, what are those? There are 5. Instruction, curriculum, learners, assessment, learning outcomes. Very good. The 5 sub-themes for teaching and learning are sub-themes, instruction, curriculum, learners, assessment, and learning outcomes. And the first one who gave the correct answer is, we have here Miss Bai Babandilan. Very good. Congratulations. So it seems that everybody is taking notes, and I am really okay with that. Ito, next question. According sa discussion kanina ni Sir, there is a little to no difference between the proposal or basic research parts and also the action research parts. Ano or what is the counterpart of problem and its setting in the action research parts? What is the counterpart of problem and its setting in the action research part? Sige, if you really are listening, meron doon. Nasabi yun kanina ni Sir. What is the counterpart of problem solving, a problem and its setting in? Very good, Mr. Rubia. That is context and rationale. Very good. We have here Francisco the third Rubia. So it seems that everybody is really listening. Next question. So kung kanina, I am asking about problem and its setting. Ngayon, what is the counterpart of statement of the problem for action research? What is the counterpart of statement of the problem for action research? Sige, sino maka-answer nito? Sino kaya ang makaka-answer nito? Very good, Mr. Mark Eclipse. That is action research question. Okay. I am happy that everybody is participating. And it's a good thing that everyone is there. And last question, before we're going to end, what are the 2 things that you need to consider in making a proposed innovation, intervention, and strategies? What are the 2 things that you need to consider in developing proposed innovation, intervention and strategy. Yes, Sir Tina, you may leave po. Thank you very much, sir. I'm going to keep in touch to you, Sir Messenger po. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much, Ma'am Dayan. Good luck, everyone. Thank you po.
So, what's the answer? Sinong naka-answer? Ayan. Sino? Wait lang. Ito, may answer. Localized, indigenized, and specific. Dapat yung dalawa. Dalawa dapat. Localized, indigenized, and specific. Ano yung isa? Dapat dalawa talaga ang ilagay ninyo. Huwag niyong ihiwalay. Huwag niyong ihiwalay. Isahin niyo. Ayan, meron nakasabi from Nerlin Magnolia Celis. Ay, grabe si Ate Nerlin. Pwede iba na naman po. Please give chance to others. Sumusobra na po kayo. Joke lang. Dalawa ang nakakuha actually, but they have already answered kanina. So, pwede natin ibigay sa iba. Wait lang. Okay, we have here localized, indigenized, and specific, and also properly described and presented. Wrong spelling wrong. Wrong spelling wrong, dear ha. Dear, wrong spelling wrong. I'm going to give the answer to Miss Christine Gaborna. Okay. Okay. So I hope everybody has reviewed some parts of our presentation in a while. Ayan. So yan. That's our recap. Sorry. So that's our recap for our discussion for today. To those who have won, I'm going to give my contact number to Sir Christian J. Fajartin for Jensen. Tapos sa main, I'm going to give my contact number dito sa Marbel for your prizes. I'm going to give you 50 pesos worth of loan for participating and getting the correct answers in our conference for this time. So thank you very much. So to end our program, I would just like to give my gratitude to everybody, especially to both schools, all FS instructors coming from RMMCMI and RMMC Jensen for participating in our presentation for this time around. I hope you have learned something. And for your evaluation for this day, i-send ko po via GC ninyo yung evaluation. Evaluations will just run for 20 minutes para makuha po ninyo ang e-certificate natin. So that's it. Thank you very much, everyone. See you on the next webinar.